Poem's called Evolution, Even in Extinction. A few years ago, scientists scanned an unearthed burrow in South Africa's Karoo Basin. Scans revealed an amphibian who had crawled into a mammal's shelter for protection. The amphibian had broken ribs that had healed up to a certain point. He had already survived something. He fought tooth and nail against an environment that didn't give a shit. He just needed somewhere to rest. This was 250 million years ago when the ability to burrow was an evolutionary advantage. The amphibian, a mostly aquatic animal, he had nothing to offer as he drug himself into safety, to a burrow already dug. He had nothing to offer but broken bone and locked jaw, no will and no pleasantries. He had nothing to offer but imperfect and unlikely company. Someone is better than no one when it is the end of the world. The mammal had evolved to burrow and estivate in order to survive a world that had itself just survived the Permian era. This extinction had wiped out most of life on Earth. To live was to recover, and to recover was to survive. To survive was exhausting, but it was surviving still, and what else is there? Even for those who survived, life was a cycle of evolving or killing or dying. I think they knew that something big was happening. One of us can feel when so many of us are no longer. There have been mass extinctions before, and surviving is not new. But it is 2022, and every day I feel like there is more to mourn, because there is. To survive is to face the truth that man made this extinction. Survival and grief are too often felt together. How do we live in a world without the millions who died in the pandemic? How do we live in the same world with those responsible for the loss of so many of us? As I write this, my kitten is curled on my chest and I am crying. He purrs, self-regulating with rhythmic beats to show me that he knows he is safe here even if he is not safe out there. I have my home, my burrow, and we have survived a pandemic up until this point. We are curled up, enjoying nothing but each other, and perhaps this is what life is, just being with each other. And perhaps this is also what death is, because the fossils of the amphibian and the mammal were found curled up together. Perhaps because of broken ribs and shared heat, or perhaps because of the universal need we have for each other. A flood buried the two together alive, and although they sang unheard pleas, they were singing together. These animals could have stopped fighting long before they did. They were indeed the last survivors of a mass extinction. The stubbornness of the mammal shows in what traits evolved from him. The since-evolved mammalian backbone allows for modern-day mammals to run fast, climb, swim, and rotate their spine to groom their fur. I hold my kitten, my sweet cowboy, and I know that he is with me because someone before him chose to evolve, to survive, to live. We forget that the days we are just getting through add up, and that history does not feel like history to those in the middle of it. The amphibian and the mammal are still impacting life 250 million years later just because they were there. We forget we are making history whether or not we think we are worthy of being remembered. We are here. History books are always being written. The flood is here, and there are countless lifeless bodies in the current. The flood does not give a shit. It just floods. Every day there is a new strain, a new disaster, or a new reason to stop fighting, and still, we are here. Fighting to survive is not new, but let us not forget that evolution has always been a function of extinction. Life must go on, somehow. Overwhelming loss suffocates us just as much as the pollution, but every time there is another reason to not fight. We must remember. Those of us who fight the hardest, who evolve despite, are those of us who shape the backbones of those who are to follow us.